Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. As you guys know, I went out to Worcester, Massachusetts, and Udizzy and I traded a few things. I brought him a go-kart frame and a 200X frame and a 10 horsepower and some other little trinkets, and he gave me this burn-up motor. This he's got some videos on it. This was from a China off-road go-kart, and if you look it over, you'll see certain things on it. Like if you look down here, you'll see that it's 150 cc's. I don't know, could you guys see that? Or you could take my word for it. And somewhere else on here it said GY6. The GY6, oh, here it is, right? GY6. So it's 150 cc GY6. There you go. Very, very common motor around the world. I mean, they put these things in scooters and go-karts, and I think right to the point of small trucks. Anyway, it was on a Chinese off-road go-kart, a bit bigger than the one I have there. It was a two-seater, but it was bigger, longer, wider, bigger. Though it looked like the tires were too small, like the tires on mine looks like it's too small. It's a nice compact unit. The exhaust is right here. The fire was here, and obviously this boot or manifold, intake manifold, whatever you want to call it, given that it's got vacuum ports, let's call it an intake manifold, got burned up. The starter, the wiring harness, the flywheel would go here, and underneath the flywheel is the stator. This big coil is where you get your spark from. The little ones around the outside, they're the ones that charge your batteries. You can see a little charbroil there. This is the pulsar. It's still magnetic, but I think it's, I mean, to me, I think it's dead. Even if it weren't dead, I think it wise to replace it. Anyway, before one ever gets too far into these things, you really kind of need to figure out what you have and what you're going to do. By the way, this thing in the back, this is a brake, right? This is a brake. That's the drive sprocket for your back axle. And I haven't noticed a lever on here anywhere to do reverse, though. I don't think, I mean, who knows, maybe while I'm fooling around I'll find some lever somewhere, but that's a brake cable. Once again, that's the brake drum, that's a support. That does look like something went through here, but once again, I don't see where it would go to. I mean, moving this back and forth just moves me back and forth on a bolt. So I'm not thinking this has reverse. At least I'm not noticing it if it does. Anyhow, last night I took a risk and I ordered an intake manifold. It was less than $6, and I ordered a carb, which was less than $25. So I already have $30 into it. I think I gotta look, but I think I have the a pulsar to put on here. I think I have the same one, and I think I could rewire this and bring it back to life. If not, I can use my portable 12-volt GY6 ignition for that. About the starter, I had taken the starter off, and I put power to it and it wouldn't go around, and then I was kind of turning it with my fingers, and I must have cleaned the brushes up or something because it took off. And I got to tell you, if I almost soiled my Depends. When this thing goes from nothing to screaming in your hand, first thing you do is, where are my fingers? Do I still have them? I mean, it's startling in the whole bit. You guys, it would have been a great YouTube moment. You guys would have got to see me jump about like a moron. Anyway, just quickly. By the way, don't try this at home. So we put power right there, and then come on. Anyway, you guys could take my word for it. It was going around before. Seems that I gave that up. Anyhow, I had the starter going around before. Probably I'm going to have to take it apart and put a little more time and effort on it. I've been doing a lot of the sparking. I might have killed my battery pack too. Starters, I'm trying to remember. I think they're another $25. So if for around $50 I could get this running, that wouldn't be a bad thing. I'd have 150 cc's. You can tell by the size of this whole thing here. It's a pretty well-made drive chain. I mean, look at the motor mounts on it and so forth. So, and now the next question: where does one put it? I'm not exactly positive where I'm gonna put it yet. Kind of depends a little bit on the gear ratio. A lot of these are set up, by the way, that the wheel bolts right here instead of having a sprocket. The wheel bolts right to it. This kind of, let's say you were sitting here, this was your seat, right? This engine is typically right here, your back wheel's here, and a lot of times the engine is literally part of the suspension, right? This is your top motor mount, and this is where a shock hooks up, and this whole thing literally is suspension. So a little disappointed that it didn't turn over for you guys, but I guess that's how things go. The little bit I've looked the motor over, it appears to be in pretty nice shape. I mean, other than getting torched, right? I already checked it. It does have compression. I don't know. I think it's still alive. If you look at the back sprocket, I mean, it's really heavy duty, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of wear on it. Those teeth look like they're in pretty good shape. Typically these little go-karts, as people are beating them about their property, the China carbs have a tendency to go bad real easy with gas. They have a tendency to get into trouble. So now you go down this, incline toward trouble, right? Your carb's acting up, which means it's hard to start, so you're grinding the heck out of the battery. Next thing you know, you take the battery out, you use a jump pack on it or whatever, and you're kind of beating up that whole system. Though I have found a few with bad starters in them, but the starters seem to get cooked, and I'm going to use the word cooked, when the engine won't turn over, and then people, you know, put the juice to them and don't take the juice off, and you know, the starter, if it's not going around, they cook in a matter of less than 30 seconds, right? You're putting a lot of amps to a starter that isn't going around. Then you take out the starter, then you bring it to the shop, and the guy says, well, you need a starter. That's $25 plus $100 for me to put it in and to rebuild the carburetor, or to replace the carburetor. Let's make that another $100. So you find yourself putting money into these things that you don't really want to put into them, and a lot of people kind of give up. Also, these tires on them, like a lot of China tires, they have a tendency to jump off the rims, right? Not only do they go flat, they don't hold air worth a hoot, but then they jump off the rims, and you're like, man. And if you leave it outside, it starts to look like this, and you know, now what? But I must say it, and I will say this, for young people, for young folks, for the you know, 12 to 22-year-olds out there who don't have a lot of coin, typically they're selling millions of these China quads and all, and they only cost about $625, $650, $700, less than $1,000 brand new. And I'm not saying go out and buy one brand new; they're kind of crap. But what I am saying is, if you educate yourself on how to fix them, you know, they're kind of like the old Honda 50s and 70s and 90s and Super Trails and all the stuff I had when I was a kid growing up, right? You get your hot little hands on them and you get them running, and the next thing you know, you can have one, maybe it's a little prettier than most. You get it running, you could sell it or trade it for perhaps a Honda that's not running, or a Kawasaki or a Yamaha or something like that, right? And if you pick up something like that, it's much more fun. And once again, start working your way up. Maybe you start out with a trumped out tractor or lawnmower, and you sell or trade that for a trumped out go-kart or a China quad, and then you trade that for something with two wheels that's a little cooler, maybe a Chinese pit bike or something, and you work your way up. Or you act like me and you develop a hoard. When I was a kid, I didn't have the space, and I didn't have the capital behind me. I didn't have any money, so most of the stuff I got, I could only kind of have one. You know, my parents kept a bit of a collar on me, and particularly my father on that kind of stuff. So given that I couldn't have multiple things, I was always trying to work my way up, to trade my way up, right, to get something more valuable. As a matter of fact, the first money I had when I left for college was because I had a Honda 50 that somebody just beat it to death. I mean, it was, that poor Honda 50 was just so well worn, and I fixed it up, and I sold it. I think I got $75 for it back then, and you guys, $75, that's nothing. Well, I got to tell you, in 1975, 76, that was money. So it kind of bootlegged me, helped me leave for college with a few pennies in my pocket. And then from there, you know, you work your way up. And next thing you know, you got quite the hoard. Anyway, folks, I really want to thank you guys for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down. Keep your heads up, and please get out there and enjoy all your days. You don't know how many you're going to get. And even if you live to 100, what's wrong with enjoying all your days? Take care now, folks. Bye.